This video is about the changes to the Warlock class in the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. I'll take you through changes to most class features and then go over the subclass changes at the end. Eldritch Invocations are special abilities, kind of like mini feats. Most of them enhance spells, allow you to cast spells without components and without using a spell slot, or grant you access to non-Warlock spells you can cast by using a Warlock spell slot. In the old rules, Warlocks could choose from a list of 32. You chose 2 at 2nd level, and you added more as you leveled up, eventually getting 8 at level 18. In the new rules, the list has only 28 options, but some you can choose more than once to gain added benefits. You choose 1 invocation at level 1, then 3 at level 2, then increasing as you level up, ultimately to 10 at level 18. The old rules have a feature called Pact Boon, coming at 3rd level. There were 3 Pact Boons, and they were also like feats, granting you special abilities. You chose one of these 3, Pact of the Chain, Pact of the Blade, or Pact of the Tome. In the new rules, these 3 are now individual choices within the Eldritch Invocations. In the old rules, 3 of the Eldritch Invocations modify uses of Eldritch Blast. With Agonizing Blast, you add your Charisma modifier to damage when casting Eldritch Blast. Eldritch Spear extends the range of your Eldritch Blast to 300 feet. Repelling Blast pushes a creature up to 10 feet away when you hit it with an Eldritch Blast. In the new rules, whenever you gain one of these invocations, you can choose which cantrip it applies to, which can be Eldritch Blast or any other wizard cantrip that deals damage. And you can take a given blast invocation multiple times, each time declaring a different cantrip that it works with. In the new rules, none of the Eldritch invocations, except for 1, expend spell slots for the Warlock. They're now, in this sense, more separated from the spell slot magic, called Pact Magic, that the Warlock uses. In the old rules, and still in the new, you recover all expended spell slots on a long or short rest. And there's also, at level 20, a feature called Eldritch Master, which allows you, once per long rest, to spend a minute petitioning your patron and then regain all your expended spell slots. In the new rules, at level 2, you also get a feature called Magical Cunning. This allows you to spend a minute performing a ritual that restores half your maximum spell slots, and you can do this once per long rest. And of course, at level 20, you still get Eldritch Master. In the new rules, at level 9, you get Contact Patron, which allows you, once per long rest, to cast Contact Other Plane as an always prepared spell. Contact Other Plane is a spell that allows you to contact a mysterious entity from another plane. Normally, there's a risk to your sanity, causing you to make an intelligence save, and if you fail, you are insane and can't communicate or take actions. If you succeed, you can ask that entity a question and get a magical 8-ball type of answer, such as yes, no, maybe, irrelevant, and so forth. When you cast it using Contact Patron, you automatically succeed on that intelligence save, and it doesn't use a spell slot. At level 11, Warlocks get Mystic Arcanum, which allows you to choose a 6th level Warlock spell, and you can cast the spell once per long rest without expending a spell slot. Then at levels 13, 15, and 17, you get more instances of this with higher spell levels. In the new rules, you can also replace an Arcanum spell whenever you level up after level 11. As with the other classes in the 2024 rules, Warlocks get an Epic Boon feat at level 19. An example is the Boon of Fate, which allows you to increase an ability score by 1, as well as being able to add or subtract 2d4 from any successful or failed d20 test of any kind. You can do this to yourself or any creature within 60 feet of you. Now let's talk about subclasses. The 2024 rules turn the choice of the Warlock's patron to a formal subclass choice. In the old rules, you chose that patron at level 1, but in the new rules, this happens at level 3, unifying this with the level where all classes get subclasses in this new edition. In both the old and new rules, each patron gives you a list of non-Warlock spells you can consider Warlock spells and are added to spells you can choose when you gain new ones. In the new rules, patron spells of a level you have slots for are also now considered always prepared. The old patrons have been brought over from the 2014 rules, which are the Archfey, Fiend, and Great Old One, and the Celestial patron from Xanathar's Guide to Everything is now in the core rules too. For the Archfey, Misty Step is now added to the spell list, and several features of the subclass give extra uses of it. In some cases, you even get healing bonuses and damage effects when you use it. A subclass ability called Beguiling Defenses grants immunity to charm effects, and in the old rules allows you to use your reaction to try to turn an attempted charm on you back on the charmer, potentially charming them instead. In the new rules, it still grants immunity to charm effects, but now, instead of turning a charm back, it allows you to reduce any successful hit on you to half damage, and the attacker must make a wisdom save or else take an equal amount of psychic damage. For the Fiend spell list, blindness and deafness are replaced by suggestion, and flame strike and hallow are replaced by geese and insect plague. This subclass has an ability called Dark One's Blessing, which came at level 1 in the old rules, and which allows you to gain a number of temporary hit points when you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points. In the new rules, because subclasses now begin at level 3, this feature arrives at that level. And the benefit now happens when you or anyone reduces an enemy within 10 feet of you to 0 hit points. This subclass also has a feature called Dark One's Own Luck, which comes at level 6. It allows you to add 1d10 to an ability check or saving throw. In the old rules, you could do this once per short or long rest, while in the new rules, you can do it a number of times equal to your charisma modifier per long rest. The Hurl Through Hell feature comes at level 14 and allows you to teleport a target you hit through a horrific plane, then returning it to the spot where it was at, or the nearest unoccupied space. The hellish teleportation journey deals 1d10 psychic damage to the target if it isn't a fiend, and the ability is usable once per long rest. In the new rules, the target gets to attempt a charisma save, and if they succeed, the teleport doesn't happen. If they fail and aren't a fiend, they now take 1d8 psychic damage rather than the d10. Also in the new rules, you can use it additional times during the day by expending spell slots. For the Great Old One spells, Sending, Dominate Beast, Edvard's Black Tentacles, and Dominate Person have been removed, while Hunger of Hadar, Confusion, Summon Aberration, and Modify Memory have been added. Great Old One's Warlocks have a feature called Awakened Mind, which came at level 1 in the old rules. It allows you to communicate telepathically with a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target also must understand at least one language to be able to communicate telepathically with you, although it doesn't have to be a language your character knows. In the new rules, this now comes at level 3 since all subclasses begin at level 3, and once connected to a target within 30 feet, you can now communicate as long as you are within a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, but the target must now share at least one language with you in order to communicate. A new feature called Psychic Spells comes at level 3. This allows you to change the damage type of any of your Warlock spells to psychic damage and allows you to cast enchantment and illusion spells without verbal or somatic components. Another new feature called Clairvoyant Combatant, available at level 6, plays off of the Awakened Mind ability. When you have established a telepathic connection with Awakened Mind, you can force the target of that connection to attempt a wisdom save. If the target fails, it has disadvantage on attacks against you, and you have advantage on attacks against it. You can use Clairvoyant Combat once per long rest, and you can also expend a spell slot to regain use of it. At level 10 comes another new feature, Eldritch Hex. This gives you the Hex spell as always prepared, and when you cast it, you choose an ability, and the target also has disadvantage on saving throws against that ability for the duration of the Hex spell. A feature called Create Thrall comes at level 14. In the old rules, it allowed you to touch an incapacitated humanoid who was then charmed by you. You could also communicate telepathically with that charmed humanoid. In the 2024 rules, the feature of the same name still comes at level 14, but it does something completely different. Now you can cast Summon Aberration without the duration requiring concentration. If you choose to do this, the duration becomes 1 minute for the summoned creature, as opposed to the standard duration for this spell, which is 1 hour with concentration. And the creature has temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level, plus your Charisma modifier. For the Celestial Patron subclass spells, Aid now replaces Flaming Sphere, and Summon Celestial replaces Flame Strike. At level 6, you get Radiant Soul, which gives you resistance to radiant damage, and when you deal radiant or fire damage, you can add your Charisma modifier to 1 radiant or fire damage roll of that spell against one of its targets. In the new rules, you can now only do this once per turn. At level 10 comes Celestial Resilience, which grants you temporary HP after a short or long rest. The amount is your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. You can also choose 5 creatures you can see who gain an amount of temporary HP equal to half your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. In the new rules, you also gain these benefits when completing a magical cunning ritual. At level 14 comes Searing Vengeance, which allows you to spring back to life when you would have had to make a death save. You regain HP equal to half your maximum, and you do 2d8 plus your charisma modifier in radiant damage to creatures of your choice within 30 feet. The targets are also blinded until the end of the current turn. You can do this once per long rest. In the new rules, you can apply this to yourself or an ally when you use it. And those are the major changes to the Warlock class in the 2024 PHB. If you enjoyed this video, yes, I have to remind you to give it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe. You also might want to check out our other videos on the changes in the new Player's Handbook. I'm Dave, and thanks for watching. No one's ever stopped laughing at absurd as shit. Every generation just thinks they've discovered it. Because it looks stupid without context. The whole post-irony thing, for all we know, that was the entire Roman Empire.